Today, we're going to be talking about the use of CSS selectors along with learning some new properties. To put it simply, CSS selectors are a way for us to select multiple elements in HTML or specify an individual element that has different properties, like having some text bigger than the first or changing its color. To start us off, I prepared some paragraphs as you can see over here, and linked a CSS file to this HTML document. If you're unsure of how to link a file, all you have to do is create a link tag and then specify the location of your file over here. If you're still unsure, I will link a video in the description below. Now we can jump into CSS and talk about some selectors. So right now we have a few paragraphs and they all use the p tag. This will be the selector we use, and from there we can just assign a property of color and change it to darker blue. So we're going to use p, curly brackets, and then the color will be darker blue. So now if we save this, all of them should have the color darker blue. But now, what if you wanted to target the first or second paragraph without affecting the other two? That is where selectors come in. They allow us to target specific elements. The first selector we'll talk about is known as an ID. An ID of an element is unique, and the ID specified of an element should only be used once for that element in your document. For example, right now we have multiple paragraph tags. We'll give the first one an ID of error. And normally with errors, we associate them with the color red. So let's go and apply this in the CSS file. I'm first going to take this away. Now in order to target an ID, we start with the hashtag and then we write error. Then the curly brackets again, and then everything is the same. Then we can just color here and then put red. If we save that, that first one should be assigned red. Now from here, this is the only element that should have this unique ID. No other tag should share this ID with it. I would advise not to use IDs as your selectors for every single element in your document, even if they have different names. You can't use the same styling you would use in the first paragraph and apply it on the second one over here, because they would be sharing the same ID. Creating another ID and writing the same type of CSS again would not be best practice either. The second type of selector is known as classes. This solves the first issue we were presented with. You use a CSS class when you want to be able to apply a style to multiple elements in your document, or even make sure you are able to style any similar elements relatively quickly if they have the same styling. Right here, we use the last two paragraphs and assign them the same class of success. We will save this document, then head over to the CSS file and assign them the color of green. The way we target classes is first using the dot and then writing the class name, and then we give it the color green. Now if you save this, these two should be green. A simple and nice way to make sure you remember to use IDs very sparingly is that a class should be used on any element or item in your document, and IDs should be a unique name that is assigned for an item in your document. Another nice thing is that you can have more than one class for an element, so they can both share the success one, and then in the last one we can add another name known as large. In our CSS, we can target that large class even though they share the other success one, and then right here we can change the font size and maybe make it 25, and then that would be much bigger. px meaning pixels. The third type of selector is known as the universal one. You don't use this a whole ton, you only really use it at the beginning of your document if you wanted to apply some specific styling to all the HTML documents before doing anything else in your website. If we go just before this ID over here, use a little asterisk sign or star and curly brackets. And right in here, you can target anything in your website and everything pretty much. So I'll just take this away because we're not going to be really using it. But you can change the same things as color, borders, and background colors. So now lastly, we will talk about grouping certain elements that have the same form of styling. Now let's say we wanted the second paragraph and the last paragraph to have the same gray background. We can achieve this in two ways. The first way is assigning the second paragraph the same class of success, then applying a background color of gray. That will change both of them to gray. But this could cause some issues if you wanted to change something else about the second paragraph, but not the last. So instead, what we'll do is give the second paragraph its own class. So we'll give it second and then save that. From here, we know that we want them to share certain property. So we're going to go in here, and what we have to do is first write second, so that's the class. Now if you wanted to affect the second class, we use a comma over here, and then we say dot again, and then we say large. Now use the curly brackets, and now it should affect the second one and the last one. So right over here, just say background color, and then we just say gray. So now if we save that, you can tell that the last paragraph and the second paragraph have gray backgrounds. This can save some time and space compared to writing the same thing in multiple classes. Now from here, you can apply their own individual styling. Like as you can see, we have a large over here and second showing this property. But then again, you've got large over here having its own property of a bigger font size. Now those are the various ways you can select certain elements in CSS. I will include the resources as well in the description below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.